What's going on, Niner fam? It is me, Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast, and I've got with me today a special guest in the John Chapman, host of 49ers Rush, and you've seen him with him and Breezy do some more shows together. Hey, John, I'm so super appreciative of you to come on a Sunday, the Lord's Day and everything. I know it's a day of rest for most of us, but, with the content creators, we don't really get days of rest. But I really appreciate it on having you on. How are you feeling today?
Man, I'm feeling awesome. That entry song, man, I'm jacked, ready to go, man. I'm feeling pumped up. So glad to have you.
Shout out to Roscoe's. Shout out to shout out to Black
man.
Solutions. Look him up on Twitter if you can need some work done on your intros, outros, headers, whatever you need. Roscoe he's really accommodating. So yeah, but
That's
I'm super
awesome,
happy.
Man. Dude, glad to be here, Peter. Love the show. Love the community. Interacting with you on Twitter all the time is awesome just because the knowledge that you bring and such a reasonable approach, logical approach, which I think is missed a lot of times on social media. So I'm glad to be here. Excited to jump into some Niners. And I don't know. I'm gonna try to get us off task. That's usually what I do when I'm a guest. I always try to get throw some curveballs out there. So we'll see what happens, man.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. I used to play baseball, so I might be able to hit one. I don't know.
There we go. There we go.
But so now we can look at this from, like you were talking about earlier, an objective kind of viewpoint. And the preseason's over for the 49ers. I know that there's still some straggling games going on, but for the 49ers, it's over. So kind of now what? Now what are we going to see? And are there any kind of immediate needs that you see the 49ers need to fill before the season really gets going on week 1?
Yeah, it's a weird transition, and because you're going from development and scouting almost this back into the roster guys. What can they be? Can these players that aren't getting a lot of playing time or haven't been with us, can they grow into somebody that can contribute to, now that the preseason's over, those guys you go on the back burner. We're still going to develop you, but now you're scout team players. You're working on your own craft. We're dealing with the studs. And so just today, for example, injury reports come through and you're starting to get some of your studs back. Elijah Mitchell's back, right? That's huge. Mm-hmm. Charvarius Ward's back. Ambry Thomas is back. So it's already time to implement and get ready to go for the season. So it's a huge shift, to be honest with you, with developing old back-end roster guys to, all right, let's put in what we do and let's work ones versus ones.
Yeah, for sure. And I look at this, look at it like there's a lot that they never usually like to do what we want them to do, right? 49ers are notorious for doing the exact opposite of what fans think that they should do. But I look at this as there's been a lot of overreaction after the last game. I think that the 49ers are actually pretty happy with what they have in house. And like you said, I think that we're seeing some guys come back from injury, if they were really injured at all. I think that a lot of this is just keeping guys healthy going into the season. But I think they're pretty happy with where they are. I think that we have one little bitty need. I think that we could use some tackle depth, maybe one.
Yeah,
but
I finished the film from the Texas game today, offensive film. It was pretty bad on the tackles. Yeah. It was really bad on the tackles.
It was like they didn't know what the snap count was. It was really weird. But yeah, I just look at it as I think that the 49ers, we see this every kind of season, that they're more confident in what they've got in-house than we are. And a lot of the times, unless it's a ridiculous amount of injuries, it kind of works out. As long as there's not a whole bunch of injuries, it usually works out for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of stand pat. They might add one one or two people. Let's see who gets released on the waiver wire or whatever, like from the other teams that got to get cut, that they got to cut down to 53. But let's talk about Lance. What are your expectations for Lance this season? And would you consider him an upgrade over Jimmy? I think that's the main question everybody wants to know.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful because he's 22 years old. The kid's played 10 quarters. There's no doubt raw is a term that you should use with Jimmy. However, the place we just saw, even in the Texans game, okay, offensive line was trash. He was able to manipulate the pocket, scramble around, all those different things. He got sacked once, but if you just put Jimmy Garoppolo in that Texans game, you're talking 3 to 4 sacks. Now, what is it that makes Trey Lance an upgrade over Jimmy? Because in some ways he is, not in all ways, right? Jimmy does a lot of things better than Trey, but he's just different. It's a different style. The 3rd and 2 play, the deep ball to Debo, that was awesome. I know people were like, man, why don't you just run and get a first down? Man, it's a preseason. I want aggressive. How tired are we of a predictable Kyle Shanahan on 3rd and short? Why not? We got single high safety coverage, one-on-one Debo outside, freaking let it rip, baby. And so back those people up. So that's the thing. The 2 areas that I think, really 3, the 3 areas that Trey Lance supersedes Jimmy Garoppolo: 1, arm strength and testing the ball deep; 2, moving in the pocket, his mobility. That's huge, especially with an inexperienced offensive line. And 3, he protects the ball better. Jimmy Garoppolo barely had a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio in 2019 and 2021, which are seen as his best years. Trey was past that last year in only 10 quarters of play. So explosive plays, limiting turnovers, that's what I want to see. Those are the expectations. He's going to have bumps. There's no doubt. But if he can keep those touchdowns high, the explosives, while limiting negative plays, interceptions, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, no, I completely kind of agree with you on. I think that it's like you said, it's a growing process. Like we cannot, if to me, it's not about is he better than Jimmy, because this team carried Jimmy to where we got last season. So for me, it's about doing at the bare minimum what Jimmy could give us, plus a couple of more throws like than what he could give us make those throws that Jimmy can't make to back up that defense and open up the run game. Cause that's really what I think that's what really Kyle wants to do. Like this is all to open up his offense so that running game can really start to bully guys up front. And I don't really see I see put a lot of pressure on Trey, because I don't think that we're going to air it out every 2 seconds. I think it's going to be 30 to 40 runs a game, just like it was last year, except now those wide open guys all over the field, Trey can actually make those throws. So I don't know how you felt about that.
It backs up the defense. It's just the idea we saw last year during the playoffs: 6-man freaking defensive front, single safety or maybe no safeties, because Jimmy just doesn't throw it deep. That's just not his game. And that's not a slight on Jimmy. It's just not where he's successful. Jimmy's successful between the numbers, 10 to 15 yards deep. Now you got to back it up. So you want to contribute everybody to the box and try to stop the run. Awesome. We're going to air the ball out, and it's going to be there's so much more you can do, because the deep ball, or the threat of the deep ball, I should say, opens up running lanes because you can't contribute as many players to the box. You can't do it.
It's simple math. And it really is just, and real quick, I just want to say kudos to everybody in the chat for getting active in the chat. Like I see all you guys out there, and
love it.
And I appreciate you guys showing up. And it really comes down to showing a different look. And I think people are talking about what Lance is currently. Well, he's not even going to be what he is currently by the end of this season. And we're going to see a completely different Lance by that time. And then going into the next season, his ceiling is going to go up even higher. So be patient, Niner faithful. Just be patient. Like, this kid is going, from all that we've heard, I really have a good feeling about Trey Lance. We just have to be patient and let him let him go through those bumps and bruises like John was talking about. But
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree completely. And remember, second youngest quarterback in the NFL right now. He's number 2 out of
yeah,
everybody, even the new drafted guys. Young.
yeah, he's super young. And what aspect of his game do you expect to see him develop as the season goes on?
Man, I think we've already started to see it. Last year, whenever he first came in, he was still rocket launching balls across the middle on those short routes.
Hmm.
We've already started to see some of the touch. We saw it against the Texans. They did a naked boot, and he just softly put the ball over the top of the defender. Nice, easy catch. So a little more touch, a little more poise, calm, cool, collected, and even that admits pressure. If he can just learn to navigate the pocket instead of belling, which I don't think we've seen too much of yet. But again, that calm, cool, collected idea, that's the thing I want to see.
Yeah, and I mean, it says a lot. Like, I mean, I know he didn't play a whole lot in the preseason, but the reality is he didn't have any picks. He didn't throw
Yeah.
any picks, and I think that that's an important thing. That, like, I think what the coaching staff may have to kind of wrestle out of him, and I think that was something we all talked about last year. Is that and I think Fred Warner talked about it, was that him just letting it rip and just not necessarily making the safe throw all the time, and just kind of trusting his athleticism, trusting his arm a little bit. Of course, when it's smart, but we want to see him trust his arm and let it rip sometimes. And now on those short throws, of course, we need him to make the Jimmy throws. Like, though, that's what he was
Right.
working on. That's what we want to see. We want to see him work on the Jimmy throws, because he's like the anti-Jimmy. He struggles on those throws, but he's good on the stuff that Jimmy's not good at. Like everything
Correct.
Jimmy's not good at. So it'll be an interesting process. I think it'll be an interesting process for us to watch over the span of the season. But I think it's gonna, at the very least, it's gonna be entertaining.
Yeah. And you have to understand the 40 hours are going to look different. Plays
Yep.
are going to be similar, going to look different. And I like this comment from Joshua in the chat. Trey isn't going to have to test anything against the Bears. Bears are a bad team, but
Yeah.
it's still an NFL team. Week 1's the crazy week. So I do have the 49ers winning week 1, and I'm excited about that. I'm going to be at the game personally, but yeah, there's no easy cakewalks in the NFL. But yeah, the Bears are a bad team. There's no doubt about it. And I love that you get to open up against Chicago and then the Seahawks. So you're playing
Yes.
2 bad defenses back to back, which is nice.
Yeah, and but yeah, I don't want to look past Justin Fields at all. I really still think that Justin Fields has the potential to be a really good quarterback in this league. It'll be interesting to see the impact of his new coach, Eberflus, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see like what kind of he already looks a little bit more comfortable as far as the preseason goes. I know we can't take a ton from the preseason, but even just building up that little bit of comfortability with Fields, I think is going to go a long way as far as just his mojo and his confidence. Like, because I think last year it had to be close to impossible to build confidence with what they were running. I don't know how you
And
felt about him.
Fields' best game last year was against the Niners defense.
Yeah,
So that was kind of the turning point. I don't know if you remember, but I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo on the offense had 1 first down, and it was halfway through the second quarter.
yeah, they were
Fields was like playing awesome. It was like, and we were, I think, 2-4 at that point.
yeah.
And then you had that like 85-yard screen to Debo, and that was the turning point of the season. That was where you went from, it just finally Niners showed up, and it happened in that game. So yeah, don't get me wrong. Fields is looking forward to this matchup. Trey Lance went ahead of him. This is his time to show everybody, hey, I should have been that quarterback. And I don't think it's going to happen, but Bears going to be ready. It's pretty easy to get psyched for week 1.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, he's going against this 49er defense, which I just think is going to be ridiculous. Even with not having Jimmy Ward, I still have a feeling they're going to be aggressive, and he's going to be kind of running for his life. But
Yeah.
we'll see. But so fans, let's kind of shift gears to the topic that I think all of Twitter and everybody has been talking about, the 49ers for the past, since that game, since the last preseason game. So fans are really worried about the interior of the offensive line.
Yeah.
And because PFF put out a bunch of stuff about pressures and like all this other and all these other things. PFF, you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's not the end all be all, but it has good information. But we shouldn't be basing everything off of that, in my opinion. But is that really where we should be focused, the interior of the offensive line, or could it be another spot on the offensive line? What about
You
for
need
you?
a right tackle. You need a
Yes.
right tackle. Colton McKivitz is the swing tackle right now. McGlinchey is not practicing still. So if McGlinchey's not practicing by, I'd say, next Monday, really next Sunday, then that's going to be a clear indicator he's not playing week 1, which I don't think he's going to. I think week 2, week 3, that's when he'll be coming back. So you've got to get that fixed, because right now your tackles, I mean, Trent Williams, best in the game, period. But
Mm-hmm.
Colton McKivitz on the right side, it's not bad, but it's not ideal. So that's problematic, to say the least.
Do you think that they might stick Bruns? Is there a chance they might stick Brunskill over there?
Well, he's still not practicing either. So his hamstring still has him out. So that's another
Yeah,
thing. And he hasn't taken snaps at tackle in 2.5 years. You got to go back
yeah,
to
that's
2019.
true.
So, yes, do I think he's the best right tackle that's not named Trent Williams or McGlinchey? Yes, I do. Will they do it? I don't think they will. I think they're going to keep him on the inside because that's what he's practiced for 2 years. He could play tackle,
True.
and I'd be happy, but he's injured and he can't get those snaps. He can't get those reps. So I don't think we're going to see it. It's going to be McGlinchey out there.
Yeah,
I mean, not McGlinchey. I'm sorry, McKivitz. I apologize.
yeah,
The
McKivitz.
wrong Irish name.
Yeah. Joshua has a question for you directly. So he said, "There's no such thing as a cakewalk. Do you think Trey would gain more yards offensively in 2 games against the Bears and Hawks?
Yeah, so Trey would gain more yards off. So, like, out of both of those, the home game's going to be fun, but Seattle and Pete Carroll have kind of had the Niners number, not kind of, 13 out of 15 games they've won. So I think you could definitely gain more yards against the Bears. But at the same time, Shanahan's entire playbook is going to be allow these studs to carry Trey Lance early. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it should be with a
Yeah,
young
it should
quarterback.
be.
And so I'm not seeing like a huge statistical output from Trey Lance early in the season. I think once we get to like week 5, 6, 7, that's when he's going to start having more 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and with like 40 rushing yards, things like that. I don't expect a lot of that early, especially with all the running backs healthy. Elijah Mitchell came back today too. So you've got 5 running backs, which is probably what they're going to keep, 4 true running backs in Kyle Juszczyk plus Debo. Man, I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Lance has 17 pass attempts week 1.
Yeah,
It's going to be run, run, run. Like you said, 30 plus carries. That should be the number.
yeah. That's the way I see it. I just don't think it makes any sense to do anything else. They've proven that they can run the ball with those 8-9 man fronts, like and they'll do it, and they'll keep running the ball. So I don't see why they would change that. Like, I think that what's going to end up happening is they're going to have to loosen up because of the threat of the deep ball with Trey. And I think that some of the stuff that they're going to do with RPOs might open up the run game a little bit, like may open up some of those holes. But what's your assessment of Jake Brendel?
I like Brindle, and
I think he's pretty good, actually, in myself. Like, it's been kind of weird, actually.
he's really athletic, and much more athletic than 32-year-old Alex Mack and what we saw last year. There's no doubt about that. My thing is this, and I've said this repeatedly on my breakdowns that we do when we go through the coaching tape every week. He gets to where he's supposed to be perfectly, and he can block perfect for 1 count, 2 counts, and then that's where it falls apart. So a little bit of those longer developing running plays, he'll get there. And if you screenshot the first like second, 2 seconds, you're like, oh, perfect block. But players slide off and so are still able to go make a play. So he's got to develop the positional strength. Athleticism is there to lock on and use his hands better and move his feet after contact. That's been my big issue. Snaps are great. Assignments great. Initial blocks, great. It's just maintaining those blocks for longer period of time, which is difficult to do. And he's been in the league for a long time. So is there going to be a lot more development in his game? I'm not sure, But man, he's so good for a count and a half. If we could just get that development 3 to 4 seconds in, it's going to make a big difference on this 49ers offense. And that's one of the things I'm going to be watching all year because that has to be enhanced. Has to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think all I was looking for in this offseason, because I had such low expectations for Brindle, that
Yeah.
that I think that the fact that he wasn't just getting ran over every play, that I was like, oh, okay, this might be all right. And like you said, he does get to the second level. He is athletic. He does get to the second level, and he did make a couple of good blocks, with stunts, and that he picked up a couple of stunts. I thought that was really a good sign for him, especially consider. But it'll be interesting because I don't think a lot of teams besides the Texans have really been using their ones on the defensive line. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to look when we go up against a really good defensive line.
A really big nose tackle because we don't have even Javon Kinlaw, who's kind of our power piece inside. He's down to like 315.
Yeah.
Going against, a 340, 350 pound nose tackle, it's going to be interesting because Brindle's at his best when he's moving laterally. He's not at his best at the point of contact, as we just discussed. But man, if he's moving, we're successful. It's just, man, going up against like an Ndamukong Suh type guy, that's going to be the test. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't think anybody's picked Ndamukong Suh up yet, but, but yeah, no, I get your point. And I see some of these defensive tackles, like there was a rookie in Eagles camp, I think it was, that just destroyed somebody, that I saw on Twitter the other day. But with that athleticism and that size coming into the NFL, it'll be interesting. I think Kyle's gonna have to scheme up just put these guys almost as like moving pylons sometimes, like just to get a quick block on them, just to open up something.
Yeah, and I'll say this, the Eagles have the second best defensive line in the NFL, so they have invested that much. We know who has the first, though, and that's what's important.
For sure. So Melissa had a question about how many games do you think 44 and George Kittle are lined up on the right side to help that right tackle spot? Do you think that they'll get kind of stuck on the line?
I really hope that they are. And shout out to Melissa. She's one of the best there is. So what's up, Melissa? Yeah, you've got to help the right side. You don't have to worry about Trent. Now, what I will say that they will do is line up the tight end on the left and then kind of samurai backside block where at the snap of the ball, the tight end pulls all the way across. I think you'll see some of those. But yeah, you've got to help. You've got to help the right side. If you want Trey Lance to be helpful, like to have a confident start, you've got to help the right side. And here's the scary thing. You still have Spencer Burford, who I love, at right guard, 0 career starts. Aaron Banks at left guard, who I really like, 0 career starts. And then Jake Brindle in the middle, 3 career starts. So there's so much inexperience. So the biggest concern is right tackle, but you can't just act like, oh, well, our interior guys are going to be okay. It's scary. You need to move the pocket. And we saw that in the preseason with a lot of bootlegs, a lot of play actions, a lot of rollouts. I really hope they continue to do that just to help manipulate the location of the pocket, move it outside. No 7-step drops where you're just sitting there. Don't do that repeatedly. That's going to be bad. That's going to be a cause of disaster if they do that.
Yeah, that's a lot of people were freaking out like in this last game because, and I put a stat out there on Twitter that, out of all of Trey Lance's snaps, he had 13 dropbacks and there was only 6 run plays called. Like, do we really think that is going to be the way they divvy it up when week 1 comes around? Absolutely not. Like, I don't see that happening. He's not going to have 11 throws on the first 3 drives. That's just not going to happen. So I think that we all just need to, like I said, breathe, namaste. Yeah, namaste, and get it, and just breathe and let Kyle guide you through. I know he doesn't give us a lot as far as from an information standpoint and what he's going to do, and sometimes he overthinks things, but at the same time, I think we can safely say that the man is a genius when it comes to play calling and game script. So I'm not really too worried about it.
No, not at all. I'm with you there.
Yeah, so the one thing I do want to talk about the defense a little bit, and do you have any real worries on the defense? I know Jimmy Ward's hurt, and that's a huge loss. But is it as huge of a loss as fans are making it out to be?
I think the 49ers are pretty strong everywhere. And you
Hmm.
kind of had two major questions this year, the nickel slot corner and the number 2 safety. Well, you answer the slot corner with Samuel Womack, who looks
Oh,
all world.
beast.
I mean, incredible job. But we've only seen him in the preseason, so
Yeah,
he's going to have some moments. And then, Talanoa stepped up and yeah, a lot of confidence. Great training camp. Didn't really get to see a lot of them in preseason, but that's okay. And now you have a new question mark because, again, the free safety, here's the job of the free safety. Jimmy Ward's been back there for 9 years. Oh, he's moved around on the defense, but he helps that number 2 safety, which is a question mark, be where he's supposed to be. He helps that nickel corner, which is a question mark, be where they need to be. So you have the one issue of not having Jimmy Ward for the first 4 weeks. But on top of that, it kind of exponentially impacts the strong safety role and the nickel role because that's usually his job to get those guys help aligned. Now you
yeah.
have Fred Warner that's going to make up for a lot of that, but it's an issue. So that's why they brought in Tayshaun Gibson. And I really do think he's going to make this roster as a vet. He didn't have a great preseason game against the Texans, but he was there for 2 days
I was gonna say he
before
was
the
on the
game.
street.
Yeah, and so, but he's somebody that's been with Kyle. He had a Pro Bowl season with Kyle back in Cleveland, I think in 2014, and so he's a vet. He's been around. He's got over 100 career starts. That's somebody that should step in. Tarvarius Moore was going to be that guy, but he's had a bad preseason. So I
Yes.
think Tayshaun Gibson's going to help. Not be, and here's what I'll say about Tayshaun Gibson: he's not going to make great plays. He's going to get Talanoa and Samuel Womack to be allowed to make great plays, if that makes sense. So you might
Yeah.
not fill them on the stat sheet, but you're going to fill them on the back end because it's going to be fewer missed assignments.
Yeah, no, I completely. Now, I will say that Travarius Moore, I feel like he last game it wasn't as bad as the Green Bay game. Like he's
Correct.
looked better. But he's still taking bad angles. And I think that he's
Yes.
still just not an instinctual type of player, if that makes any sense. And it's just I just think that it might have been curtains for him if the 49ers had done what I wanted and drafted a safety this year. But it is what it is. He's here, and this is who we got. I think that's why they went out, like you said, and got Gibson. Who knows what Gibson can give us? I don't know if he'll be starting. I think that they're gonna use the band-aid. They're gonna use more as the band-aid initially because like you said, Gibson didn't really look that solid. He'd only had 2 days of practice, but I think he needs at least. I know that he'll have another couple of weeks, but I don't know that he just beats Moore out just because Moore's been in the building. If that makes sense.
And the athleticism on Moore, let's just be really
Yeah,
honest, is it's really good. But like you said, he's still making rookie mistakes in the
true.
preseason against backups. And it's the same issues we've seen for 4 years now. Like he cannot take good angles. And again, what is D'Amico Ryan's entire philosophy? You got to
Mhm.
stop the run to be allowed to play the pass. You got to earn it. That's the phrasing that he uses. And I do not feel confident about Tarvarius Moore earning the role. He's a ball hawk safety, right? Let him
Yeah,
roam free back there, but you can't just be a ball hawk safety. You've got to stop the run, and that's where it's just so questionable.
yeah, and yeah, you're right on that. The real thing is I like because those are the two options. It's like a coin flip to me is the way I look at it, and to see who is. I mean, who it just depends on how they're feeling on who has the best practice in the next 2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
But can the
Yeah,
depth?
that's yet to be determined. You're right. That they're still battling for that. George
Yeah,
Odom's included in that as well.
and yeah, no, I think that Odom is going to be. Odom it could be a bigger factor, but even Odom, I don't know if I'm the only one that noticed this. I don't like his tackling. I just don't. He kind of I think he missed a tackle in this last game, and there was another game. I think it was in the Minnesota game where he missed a tackle. He's more of like a gang tank tackler. He kind of just slows them up for other guys to come in and finish. Like it's the way it
Well,
looks
he's a
to me. I don't
special
know.
teamer. That's his
That's
trade,
true.
right? So,
That's
like,
true.
he's used to open field tackles, which he's good at, and he's a great special teamer. But you're right. He's not a linebacker. He's not a safety that comes in and like fills hard. I saw it as well. So I commend you on that, Peter, because I think you're spot on there. Like, he's going to get there and make the sure play and allow people to rally, which is a little
Mhm.
different for safety play.
Yeah. Yeah. And so is there anybody out there that could that could cover better, like that could cover this? How do I question this? How is there anybody out there in the NFL like that's currently not on the roster that could cut that could they could maybe if they just that they gets released or gets waived or comes on the trade block? Do you see of or have heard of that could possibly come in and maybe just come in and because they don't like what they see with Moore and Gibson or Odom?
There are
Go
some
ahead.
players that are available, but I don't think at this point, Landon Collins,
No,
he's
we don't
out
want
there. He's
him.
28. You
Yeah,
got
we don't
Nate
want him.
Ebner. I'm not a big fan of. He's 33. Sendejo, he's a strong safety. Tavon Wilson, that's the one that I would say is
Mm,
in the back pocket. He started 2 games for the Niners
true.
last year.
What do you
Um,
what do you think about Jamar Johnson
Jamar Johnson, not super familiar with him. He's young.
from the
Why is
Broncos?
he? Yeah, why is he 22 years old and on the street already? What's going on there? I feel like there's got to be a story. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just going to be honest. I don't understand how he's already a free agent. If he's, maybe he fits, but I think it's going to be a vet presence. I really do. I don't think
yeah,
it's going to
for
be
sure.
somebody like Jamar Johnson. So with these waivers, that's going to be interesting. I think there's probably 2 or 3 positions that I could see the 49ers claiming, a free safety, a true free safety, and a right tackle. Those are probably the 2
Yeah,
ones that I think are huge. They're working out a tight end today because they released Kader Holman, the cornerback, which Ambry Thomas came back, Charvarius Ward came back, so that made him expendable. Because again, you don't make cuts till Tuesday, so you bring somebody in, they can practice with you for 3 days before you got to let them go.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I just, yeah, I guess we're just grasping for straws at this point. There's always somebody that pops on the roster at the last second that
Right.
ends up being a role player for us. And 49ers always kind of seem to find these guys like late in training camp, like they add a 1 or 2 guys and we end up needing them down the stretch. Like so it's yeah, it's just it's going to be an interesting situation. Like
I
I
will
think with
say
these
this
spots.
about the safety position we haven't talked about. Undrafted free agent Taylor Hawkins has been freaking awesome. Number 41. He's been great out
Yeah, he
there.
got at the interception.
However, again, I think it has to be a vet guy. I don't think you want to trust an undrafted free agent week 1. He needs some time. But long term, I definitely see Taylor Hawkins on the practice squad if he clears waivers. I don't think he's going to clear waivers, but
Yeah, I don't think so
I
either.
think at this point, you kind of just got to the 49ers are so deep at so many positions. And I love Taylor Hawkins long term, but probably not a week 1 starter.
Hmm.
But I would prefer him. Nah, I don't know. I don't
Over
want to say that.
more.
I don't want to say
Over
that.
more.
I'm not the biggest Tarvarius Moore fan,
Yeah,
personally,
me either. Me either. But
just
I
because the
just think that
development's
they
never happened.
value
It's
him.
repeated mistakes. Yes, you're
I
correct.
think they value him more than that happens a lot. Like, I mean, how long did they hold on for her to Hurd? How long did they hold on to a lot of guys like McKinnon?
Yeah.
And like, it's just, I mean, they sometimes I think that Kyle gets a little emotional when it comes to some of these players. But so cut downs, I believe they're tomorrow by 1 o'clock,
Tuesday.
Tuesday 1 o'clock. We got to go from 80 to 53. They cut Kadar Holman today. Like, I was kind of surprised by that cut. I like Kadar Holman. I thought he was pretty solid. I mean, he did have some mishaps, but I mean, I just thought as a depth piece, he was kind of a nice depth piece. He had the size and the athleticism to kind of stay with guys. But um, who are your prime candidates for cut?
Man, I think Keith or Sutherland, the center, he's
Yeah,
been
he's got
really,
to go. He
really
should have been
bad.
gone. He should have been gone.
Jalen Moore, who I had making this roster a week ago, he just put up one of the worst performances I've ever seen graded at left tackle. So I think it's time to move on from him. Sam Mills, the other side, I think that's gone. The players that I think Trey Sermon needs to go. I like Sermon.
Thank
I
you.
think that he has some positives to his game. It doesn't fit what the 49ers do. His hesitation is just bad. Stops his feet way too often in the backfield. I hope that Hasty and Jordan Mason make this roster. They've been the best two
Please.
running backs, but I'm scared only one of them will. And I think Hasty, they love Hasty, which I'm scared of Jordan Mason letting him go because he's incredible, but I just don't think he's going to find a way on. Everybody's
He's going to be
healthy
a
now.
Seahawk. He's going to be a Seahawk if they let him go. You know that's what's going to happen.
It's going to piss me off too.
Yeah, I agree with you on everyone that you said, but specifically Sermon. Sermon, I just think he would work better in a power gap scheme, with the occasional inside zone, and he's just not a fit for what we do. And he thinks he's a little bit more athletic than he actually is.
You are correct. You are correct.
And
you can't hesitate in a zone scheme. You cannot.
yeah, so it is what it, but I know that I'm like the one of the only 49er fans that think this, but I would have honestly, I'm even hesitating saying it, but Jeff Wilson was a guy for me that I just thought that if it was between him and Jordan Mason, I would take Jordan Mason.
I agree with you completely. Kyle Shanahan does not, but I agree with you.
Because Jordan Mason is just a young stud that needs to get a chance. And I know that he was
the
going
best running back every single game. Every single game.
And in practice from what the beat writers were saying.
Yep.
So, and I know we got to get out of here, but I had to get my my normal Jordan Mason take on because I have to say it. I've been saying it since training camp started and I first heard about Jordan Mason. When I saw him in I think OTAs, I think Grant mentioned him. So I've been paying attention to him since then, and I've heard nothing but good things. I saw nothing but good things. So I'm just gonna keep pumping up Jordan Mason all day, every day. But
I love it, man. He's awesome.
I really appreciate you, John, for coming on for a quick show today and making an appearance on my lowly YouTube channel.
Whatever, Peter. I don't want to hear that.
But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and it's been a real pleasure having you on and informing all of our fans, all the people in the chat. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everybody listening. This will also be on the audio version on wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure you guys subscribe, share, please share. And once again, John Chapman can be found on Twitter. Chapman can be found pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I'm all over the place. I apologize to everybody and your parents. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but there's no reason to apologize, John, because we love your content, bro. It is you were one of the when I first started to think about doing this, you were one of the first people I reached out to get some advice, and I really appreciate. I just want to make sure everybody knows that I fully appreciate it.
Dude, glad you're here, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
More. We need more positive, knowledgeable people that understand football doing this because, man, I'm like most of the people that watch all these shows. I can't get enough.
Yeah, me too.
I love what you're doing, Peter. Great work.
I appreciate you. But hey, guys, like I said, appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. Remember, share, like, comment, and I will see you later this week. I'm not quite sure as to what day yet because I've got some things going on, but it will be at least twice this week. So make sure that you come back and check Twitter, check the YouTube channel to see when the next show is coming on. But yeah, as always, go Niners.